Zhan said, "The enemy who has been defeated in my hands will never be seen as an opponent by me. I will give you time to catch up until you can't see them from afar. Soul you. You are too kind. Those who achieve great things are not bound by small details. Killing some Dousheng is nothing. In 1,000 or 10,000 years, more Dousheng will appear on the mainland." Yao Xuan said, "Forgetting Dust Pill, can you forget all the beauty and troubles of the past? Let you achieve my imperial soul." These are all Xiao Tian's vests, or in other words, his external incarnations. Xiao Tian. I am the heavenly emperor. I will suppress all enemies in the world. Keywords. Breaking through the heavenly sky. All heavens. All realms. Clones. Systems. Chi luck. Fabrication. Emotions. Creation. Invincibility. Keywords of the novel. Do pa. My vest has become emperor without a pop-up window, do pa. My vest has become emperor. Download the complete set of TXT, do pa. My vest has become emperor. Read the latest chapters. Chapter 1. Gas Transportation System. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Gas Transportation System Duki Continent. Northwest Land. Gama Empire. Yunlan City. Zhao's Back Mountain. Jinwu Dongsheng. Bringing a glimmer of light and warmth to the entire Duki continent, also heralding the arrival of a new day. Two teenagers sat cross-legged on the mountaintop, and with each breath they took, their fighting spirit quickly circulated in their bodies. Time passed minute by second, and with the sun finally rising, the two teenagers opened their eyes at the same time. A young man with a delicate appearance showed a bitter smile, and his fighting spirit disappeared once again, and it was still so eerie that he couldn't find any reason for it. Another handsome young man with firm eyes looked towards the boy beside him. "Xiao Yanzi, don't lose heart. The 4th grade chi lifting pill won't work. Next time, I'll find you 5th, 6th, and 7th grade pills until you can practice." The young man spoke with an incredibly firm voice, giving a feeling of extra peace of mind. After hearing the boy's words, the bitter smile on Xiao Yan's face disappeared. "No need, brother. That's all I have in my life, and you're also covering me up." Xiao Yan spoke up, looking very carefree, but those familiar with him knew that it was just a pretense. Upon hearing this, Xiao Tian frowned and his eyes gradually became serious. Seeing Xiao Tian's appearance, Xiao Yan immediately sat up straight. He was not afraid of anyone in the Xiao family, even his father Xiao Zhan was, except for a slight reverence for his older brother. The key is that Xiao Tian has been helping him since he was young. Before his talent disappeared, his brother Xiao Tian and he were known as the twin stars of the Xiao family. But he knew that his older brother was much more talented than him, and now Xiao Tian's strength has surpassed his father, becoming the first person in the Xiao family today. Even if my talent doesn't disappear, I am currently at most a fighter and won't exceed 5 stars. Don't worry about my cultivation resources, I am far richer than you imagine. Xiao Tian spoke up and then stood up, followed closely by Xiao Yan. Looking at Xiao Tian's appearance, Xiao Yan understood very well that although his older brother had entered the Canaan Academy and become a disciple of the inner courtyard, if wealth was really rare, selling all of Zhao's property now may not necessarily be enough to exchange for a 4th grade chi boosting pill. Xiao Tian's chi lifting pill is obviously also a treasure that has been kept for a long time. After all, Xiao Tian is not an alchemist. Today is your coming of age ceremony, brother. Let me reveal to your younger brother, what is your current strength. Xiao Yan deliberately found some easy things to talk about, just to ease the slightly awkward atmosphere now. Upon hearing this, Xiao Tian glanced at Xiao Yan. 9-star fighting spirit. Xiao Tian spoke calmly, as if talking about what he had eaten last night. After hearing Xiao Tian's answer, Xiao Yan was stunned. He stared at Xiao Tian in a daze, with a strong look of shock in his eyes. Brother, you are really a pervert. After a long time, Xiao Yan held back such a sentence, causing Xiao Tian to have black lines all over his head. He reached out and slapped Xiao Yan in the back of the head, causing him to stumble. The 16-year-old 9-star fighting spirit is definitely a rare existence on the mainland. But for Xiao Tian, realm was nothing. If he wanted to, he could even achieve the title of Dousheng now, but he didn't do it. He is not from this world, like Xiao Yan in front of him. He does not belong to this world called Duki continent, but comes from a blue planet called Earth. However, unlike Xiao Yan, his golden fingers are even more powerful. Gas Transportation System. Chi Luck Value 859-1296, it's just that simple, even a rudimentary panel. There are no system sprites, let alone system introductions. But this air transportation system is so powerful that it can even be said to be twisted to the extreme. The role of Qi Yun value is very significant. Xiao Tian defined Qi Yun value as universal currency, and Qi Yun value can manifest anything. Whether it is the so-called cultivation methods, cultivation experience, or the power used for practicing cultivation methods, the Qi luck value can all be manifested. Even life with a soul only exists in myths, fantasies, and various combat experiences. As long as one has Qi points, they can be freely created. The stronger and more magical things are, the more Qi they need. On the contrary, things like Duki cultivation require less Qi. There are also many ways to obtain Qi luck, and the most efficient one is to kill the plot characters. With the death of the characters in the plot, a large amount of energy will be harvested. But Xiao Tian only used this method twice. After all, killing a plot character means missing a leak. Sustainable development is the right path, killing chickens and laying eggs is not advisable. The second way to harvest Qi value is to establish bonds with the plot characters, and let them generate various emotions, which will turn into Qi value. All kinds of emotions are possible, whether positive or negative. This method is the one that Xiao Tian uses the most and also his favorite. In order to establish ties with the plot characters, he even created a combat technique that goes beyond the heavenly level. No. It's not so much combat skills as supernatural powers. This divine skill can deceive the 9-star peak Saint Quest, who possesses the soul of the imperial realm. External incarnation. Similar to a clone, but not a clone, each clone is his, sharing a soul, but in the exploration of others, the souls of each external incarnation are different. In order to create this divine skill, Xiao Tian wasted a lot of effort and also spent a lot of energy. However, the returns are also very huge, otherwise he wouldn't have had so much luck now. And the reason why there was no immediate use of Qi to improve cultivation was also to gain more Qi, such as the current Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan is a big spender of Qi value, and on the entire Duki continent, he can be comparable to the Qi value provided by Xiao Yan, definitely surpassing the number of double palms. Perhaps the Qi value provided by the medicine elder in Xiao Yan's ring will be on par with the rest provided by Xiao Yan. Brother, did you find me a sister.in.law at Canaan College? Xiao Yan spoke up on the road, showing an extremely lively demeanor, and the bitterness that disappeared once again due to his fighting spirit was gone. Of course, he also pretended, after all, he didn't want Xiao Tian to worry about him. Actually, Xiao Tian is not worried at all. He knows Xiao Yan's future. No. Xiao Tian spoke up directly. To be honest, although there are many plot characters in the Canaan Academy, he has not been moved by any of them. Where's Sister Xiao Yu? Xiao Yan asked, knowing that Xiao Yu and Xiao Tian entered the Canaan Academy in the same year, which is why he asked such a question. I am currently in the inner courtyard, she is in the outer courtyard, and if you feel itchy, just say it directly. There's no need to beat around the bush like this. Xiao Tian's voice gradually darkened, causing Xiao Yan's whole body to shiver. He recalled his entire childhood when he was hung and beaten by Xiao Tian, begging for everything. Begging for everything. Begging for everything. Say important things 3 times. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Adult Ceremony. 9-star Fighting Spirit. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Adult Ceremony. 9-star Fighting Spirit. Doji Chi. 4 sections. Looking at the shining 5 characters on the testing magic stone monument, Xiao Yan sighed, his eyes filled with self-deprecation and helplessness. His tightly held palm also caused a slightly sharp nail to pierce the palm, causing a piercing pain. But this pain is nothing compared to the pain in his heart at this moment. Xiao Yan. 4 levels of Doji Chi. Level. Low. Next to the testing magic stone monument, a middle-aged man glanced at the first 5 large characters on the monument and casually announced them. As the middle-aged man's words fell, people began to stir, most of which were mocking. For Dan. He's making progress, is his talent coming back? Hee, you've overthought it. His 4 levels of fighting chi were not cultivated by him, but were created by his brother, young Master Xiao Tian, who obtained the 4th level chi lifting pill from the Canaan Academy. 4th grade chi boosting pill. Young Master Xiao Tian can actually get this kind of pill. What a waste to use such a good pill for this waste. Silence. Young Master Xiao Tian is still here. What are you afraid of? Am I wrong? Various forms of disdain, ridicule, and jealous voices reached Xiao Yan's ears, like sharp spikes piercing into his heart, making Xiao Yan's breathing slightly rapid. Bang! A fierce wave of fighting spirit erupted, like a powerful monster breathing, suppressing everyone's voices. Similarly, no one dares to speak again. The Grand Elder and others sitting on the high platform were also silent, and the strong of the mainland were respected. Now that Xiao Tian's strength is stronger than theirs, they should naturally remain silent. And the rise of the Xiao family relied on Xiao Tian. Xiao Zhan looked at Xiao Tian with a satisfied expression in his eyes. Young Master Xiao Tian's strength has surpassed that of the Xiao family leader. It seems that the Xiao family will soon have a powerful fighter in power. A seductive voice sounded, but hearing it made one feel an indescribable impulse. Xiao Tian followed the voice and saw a charming woman sitting there with an elegant posture, who could be considered a beauty in the world. The charm displayed in every frown and smile was enough to make people blush. Her name is Yafei, she comes from the capital of Gama and is a member of the Mitel family, which is the wealthiest family in the entire Gama Empire. The Mitel family has a long history and has been developing in the Gama Empire for hundreds of years. Their relationships can be described as complex and intricate, with involvement in the business, military, and even political spheres of the Gama Empire, and their influence is not insignificant. However, this is only limited to the Gama Empire. After all, the Duki continent is very large. Miss Yafei is overpraised. Xiao Tian spoke without changing his expression, his eyes fixed, like a righteous gentleman. Upon hearing this, Princess Yafei covered her mouth and smiled, which was very touching. It's young Master Xiao Tian who is too modest. Princess Yafei hasn't seen the 16-year-old Big Dipper yet. Yafei spoke up, her goal was very simple, it was to win over Xiao Tian. Under the promotion of the Xiao family, the news of Xiao Tian returning to Wutan City has become widely known throughout the city, and even invited people from the other 2 major families to participate in Xiao Tian's coming-of-age ceremony. The fluctuation of fighting spirit doesn't seem like a big fighter. The head of the Gallery family, Gallery Bai, twitched at the corner of his eyes, clutching the wooden chair armrests with both hands, his heart beating like a drum. He felt his hands and feet cold, and his heart was constantly persuading him that it was impossible. Xiao Tian Kai is 16 years old. He's only 16 years old. The leader of the Oba family, Obapa, has already started to wipe his sweat. He knows clearly that Xiao Tiangong's fighting spirit fluctuation is definitely not a big fighting master. After all, he himself is a big fighting master, and knows that big fighting masters cannot erupt such a powerful fighting spirit fluctuation. If Master Xiao Tian needs any help, I will do my best at the Mitel auction hall. Ye Fei spoke up and made the maximum decision she could make, just to win over Xiao Tian. After all, such a talented young man, if he could become friends with him, it would greatly help her establish a foothold in the Mitel family. At the same time, beneath the high platform, Xiao Yu, who had long legs as pure as jade, looked at the situation above the platform, frowning slightly and gritting her silver teeth. Xiao Ning next to Xiao Yu began to arch fire. Sister, take a look. Xiao Tian is so popular, and you don't work hard either. He is the future emperor fighter. Xiao Ning has always had a dream of having the brother-in-law of a powerful fighter against the emperor. Now that he sees hope, he naturally will not give up. If there were an emperor brother-in-law, he could walk horizontally in this Yunlan city, then sooner he. Upon hearing her silly younger brother's words, Xiao Yu became even angrier. When Xiao Tian was a child, he constantly demonstrated his exceptional abilities in order to harvest his energy, especially in terms of cultivation talent. He demonstrated a unique talent that made other peers feel hopeless. Although Xiao Yu is several years older than Xiao Tian, she also has a girl-like heart. However, Xiao Tian has never responded, only showing respect for her as a sister. Shut up. Xiao Yu let out a low shout, causing Xiao Ning to immediately shut his mouth. He dared not go against his sister's will, as this was a conscious act of being beaten up from a young age. At this point, the testing of the entire Xiao family gradually came to an end, and the two more eye-catching individuals were two women. Xiao Mei. 7 stages of Doji Qi. Xiao Suner. Doji Qi Jiudun. Xiao Tian is very familiar with these two plot characters, but he doesn't pay much attention to them. After all, the former provides not much luck, while the latter provides more luck, but there are too few things that can cause her emotional fluctuations. As time passed, almost all members of the Xiao family had completed the testing, leaving only Xiao Tian without any further testing. Xiao Tian stood up and flew towards the testing magic stone steel with just one step. Seeing Xiao Tian flying up, everyone's eyes became solemn, and only the Xiao family had a proud expression on their face. Xiao clan chief is really enviable. With such a talented son, I wonder if the young master has ever been married. Obapa spoke up, and he hesitated. He was very straightforward, after all, he was not a strong and resolute person. The rise of the Xiao family was already a matter of certainty. If he didn't acknowledge it now, when would he wait to acknowledge it? He had considered teaming up with Galabai, but seeing Xiao Tian's terrifying strength, they gave up on this idea. As Xiao Tian stood next to the testing magic stone monument, the middle-aged man immediately became respectful, even with a strong sense of excitement in his eyes. With Xiao Tian's palm resting on the testing magic stone monument, the golden light suddenly lit up. Dousheng. 9 stars. 4 big characters appeared on the testing magic stone monument, imprinted in the hearts of everyone present along with the handsome young man who placed his hand on the testing magic stone monument. Ha ha ha. Xiao Zhan laughed heartily, as if he had reached the level of 9-star spirit fighting. Accompanied by Xiao Zhan's laughter, Gabriel's face turned pale. Obapa only wanted to use marriage as a way to ease the relationship between his family and the Xiao family, but he never thought that Xiao Zhan would disagree and Xiao Tian would look down on the women in his family. Amidst the beauty of Princess Yefei's eyes, there was a dazzling array of colors. She had just thought that Xiao Tian was at most a powerful Dou master, but she didn't expect that at the age of 16, Dou Ling could be considered a reader of books. Even the first-generation leader of Yunlan Sect, Yun Petian, did not achieve the terrifying results of Dou Ling at the age of 16. Begging for everything. Begging for everything. Begging for everything. Say important things 3 times. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. A 16-year-old boy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. A 16-year-old boy. As Xiao Tian walked down to test the magic stone steel, people erupted. Oh my goodness. 9-star spirit fighting. This is even more powerful than the clan leader. Young Master Xiao Tian is getting stronger and stronger. The twin stars of the Xiao family in the past are now. Silence. Young Master Xiao Tian has a great relationship with Xiao Yan. The 3 elders who proposed to let Xiao Yan leave the Xiao family early last time have been beaten to half disability by young Master Xiao Tian, and now they have no way to leave the hospital bed. If I had a brother like Xiao Tian, I would have been a fighter long ago. A noisy voice sounded, but Xiao Tian didn't pay attention to the thoughts of these people. He looked towards the direction of the high platform, saw Galibius and Obapa with extremely pale faces, as well as the exhilarating Xiao Zhan, the eldest elder, the second elder, and even the charming and fairy-like Princess Yafei. Dousheng Douling, it seems that in less than 10 years, the Xiao family will have the powerful Douhuang sitting in power. Yafei's eyes were full of brilliance as she pondered how to win over Xiao Tian. Investment was necessary, but she realized that she didn't seem to have anything to invest in Xiao Tian. She knew that Xiao Tian was a student of Canaan Academy, and in terms of background and influence, Canaan Academy was undoubtedly countless times stronger than the entire Mitel family. Even if the Mitel family invests all their strength in Xiao Tian, it may not necessarily have the special training requirements of Canaan College. Ha ha ha. Then I'll borrow Miss Yafei's auspicious words. Xiao Zhan was so happy that he even stood up and looked at Xiao Tian with a look full of pride. And Xiao Tian also maintains respect for his father in this lifetime, and Xiao Zhan was indeed very kind to him when he was young. It can be said that Xiao Zhan is a perfect father, doing his best to give his children the best thing he can offer. At the same time, in the audience, Xiao Suner looked at Xiao Tian with a faint shock in her beautiful eyes. She has seen someone who reached the level of 9-star spirit fighting at the age of 16, but that person is clearly different from Xiao Tian. That person has the help of the entire ancient tribe and is known as the hope of the ancient tribe. Young Emperor. Young Emperor. Young Duty. It can be seen that the entire ancient tribe has a high evaluation of that person, and her father has also said that in terms of talent and combat power in the same realm, he is not a match for that person. At this time, Xiao Suner felt that this era must be magnificent, it was a golden age. In ancient times, among the 8 ethnic groups, there were Tianjiao appearing, even peerless Tianjiao. The Soul clan is the most terrifying, with 2 divine bloodlines appearing in a row. The ancient tribe is also very powerful. She is a steadfast divine bloodline, and that person does not rely on bloodline. They cut off their own ancient tribe's fighting emperor bloodline and rise from the end of the world, hoping to become emperor against the heavens. At first, no one was optimistic about that person, but that person used their own terrifying power to defeat all those who gloated and wanted to see jokes. Sun Er admits that she absolutely does not have such courage, let alone such talent. Perhaps the Xiao family is really going to rise again. At this moment, Xiao Yan also looked at Xiao Tian with envy in his eyes, without any jealousy. Instead, he genuinely felt happy for Xiao Tian. This is also why Xiao Tian has been taking care of Xiao Yan for over a decade. Xiao Yan himself is not a petty person who cannot tolerate others being better than him. Not the kind of snobbish person who calls himself the boss when he is weak and his real name when he is strong. Perhaps Xiao Yan himself is not a good person, but there is a big difference between being a good person and a simple bad person, a hypocrite. At this moment, the black ancient ring on Xiao Yan's finger suddenly flashed an extremely faint light, fleeting without anyone noticing. At this moment, Xiao Tian sensed the arrival of an aura value, which made him notice something unusual. Although this aura value was abundant, it was not provided by Xiao Yan or Sun Er, and the aura value provided by Ye Fei was not as much. Xiao Tian looked in the direction of Xiao Yan, to be precise, towards the black ancient ring above Xiao Yan's finger. Medicinal dust. Xiao Tian murmured to himself in his heart, and then smiled slightly at Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan saw Xiao Tian smiling at him, and he still smiled, but he didn't understand why his third brother wanted to smile at him. I wonder if young Master Xiao Tian has a marriage match. Obama squeezed in directly, his chubby face covered in a flattering smile. Jia Libi frowned slightly, but he was also helpless. In fact, he also wanted to ask this question shamelessly, but he knew that the Jia Lai family and the Xiao family were almost irreconcilable enemies. With Xiao Tian returning in the form of a 9-star spirit fighting, the funeral bell of the Jia Lai family also entered the countdown. I have it. Xiao Tian spoke coldly, and even Xiao Zhan was stunned when he spoke. A hint of disappointment flashed in Ye Fei's eyes. She was interested in Xiao Tian's talent and originally thought about using herself as a bargaining chip, but now it seems that she is going to be disappointed. In fact, Ye Fei is not a casual woman. She is just a simple businessman, looking at everything like a commodity. Xiao Tian is undoubtedly a super commodity worth investing in, and even Princess Ye Fei believes that Xiao Tian is someone she can entrust to. But now Princess Ye Fei no longer has this idea because she also has her own pride and bottom line. She doesn't want to be a concubine, and she may not even have a status as a concubine. And the intrigue between women is really exhausting, it consumes a lot of energy. Ye Fei is an ambitious woman who doesn't want to devote her energy to such a place. Oh my goodness, did you meet me in the Canaan Academy? Xiao Zhan asked, feeling that it was a double celebration, so he didn't care if anyone else was present and asked directly. Upon hearing this, Xiao Tian reluctantly glanced at his father Xiao Zhan. Absolutely, it's just that I haven't encountered it yet. Xiao Tian spoke up, which left Xiao Zhan slightly stunned, and then he looked at Xiao Tian with great dissatisfaction. Good kid, make fun of your dad. At this moment, Obapa's face was a bit ugly, but he quickly recovered. There was no way he could do it. His strength was stronger than yours, so you had to endure it. If you can't bear it, then there's only one way to die. Of course, if you can't bear it, it may also be a dead end. But at this moment, Princess Ye Fei was full of energy, and her beautiful eyes were once again filled with hope. She felt that it was not difficult to deal with a 16-year-old boy with her charm. Even if this little boy has the powerful power of 9-star spirit at the age of 16. Master Xiao Tian is really humorous. Ye Fei smiled delicately, her voice very gentle, like a gentle breeze caressing her heart. Xiao Tian was slightly taken aback and then looked at Princess Ye Fei. Very beautiful eyes. This was Ye Fei's first impression, and then there were some fluctuations in her heart. She really likes these eyes, there is no other man looking at her with fiery desire, only a faint shyness. Even with such strong strength and talent, he is just a 16-year-old boy. Ye Fei thought this way, and her smile became even more charming. Begging for everything. Begging for everything. Begging for everything. Say important things 3 times. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Medication Elderly. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Medication Elderly. A day has passed since the end of the adult ceremony. Princess Ye Fei invited Xiao Tian to take a seat at the Mitel auction, but Xiao Tian refused because he had more important things to do now. In Xiao Yan's courtyard, Xiao Tian held the black ancient ring that was originally in Xiao Yan's hand. Xiao Tianchuang exerted a slight force with his fingers, and a terrifying force spread out. The black ancient ring immediately let out an unbearable mournful sound, accompanied by the mournful sound of the black ancient ring, cracks appeared one after another. Stop it! A slightly aged voice rang out, followed by a burst of soul power, and the black ancient ring escaped directly from Xiao Tian's hand, giving birth to heaven. With the sound of the aging voice, Xiao Tian directly protected Xiao Yan behind him, his fighting spirit gradually solidified, and two brilliant real dragons wrapped around his arms. These two real dragons seem to have spirits, and the four dragon eyes sparkle with spiritual radiance, unlike the products of ordinary spirit-fighting gas condensate. A transparent old figure emerged from the black ancient ring that flew out, with white hair and white robe. At first glance, it looked like a fairy-like figure, but upon closer inspection of his expression, there was always a hint of seriousness. Little one. It's not good to act recklessly like this. Yao Lao spoke, with a faint anger in his voice. It was obvious that he was very dissatisfied with Xiao Tian's recent attempt to crush the ancient ring. At this moment, Xiao Tian clenched his fists tightly, looking as if facing a great enemy. Although Xiao Yan stood behind Xiao Tian, there was a strong sense of vigilance and anger in his eyes as he looked at Yao Lao. Soul body. Xiao Tian looked alert and tentatively asked. Seeing Xiao Tian's appearance, Yao Lao narrowed his eyes slightly. If Xiao Tian's attribute was fire, with some wood attributes, it would be perfect. The kid is quite knowledgeable. Yao Lao spoke with a faint look of helplessness in his eyes. He didn't just wake up, he was very aware of everything that happened outside, he just didn't want to come out. He wanted to temper Xiao Yan's temperament, and Xiao Tian also had this idea. That's why he didn't directly awaken the medicine elder, but instead kept searching for the chi-boosting pill. Why is the senior among my mother's belongings? Xiao Tian spoke up, temporarily giving up his combat posture. Seeing Xiao Tian's movements, Yao Lao was very satisfied. Although Xiao Tian's talent was strong and terrifying in his knowledge, without time to accumulate, his talent was worthless. I don't know either. I just woke up recently. If it weren't for the your fighting spirit of this little doll and your various pills, I wouldn't have been able to wake up yet. Yao Lao spoke naturally, with a faint hint of mockery in his voice. Upon hearing these words, Xiao Yan's pre-existing speculations were also confirmed at this moment. His eyes immediately turned red, and his small face was covered in a fierce expression. I'm cursing your mother. As soon as Xiao Yan spoke, he was full of national essence, and disregarding Xiao Tian's obstruction, he flew up and kicked at Yao Lao's soul body, but his body passed through Yao Lao directly. Seeing this, Yao Lao was not angry either. He put himself in a different position and realized that if he were Xiao Yan, he would have already gone through the other party's genealogy by now. Don't be so calm, how did your brother teach you? Didn't he keep you calm all the time? Yao Lao still had the leisure to educate Xiao Yan, and this sentence successfully made Xiao Yan even more angry. Get lost. You old man sucked in my your fighting spirit. Do you know how I've been living these past 3 years? Xiao Yan was almost on the verge of breaking his voice, his eyes turning red as if he was about to cry the next moment. Seeing this, Xiao Tian grabbed onto Xiao Yan's back collar, as if he had grabbed the back of Xiao Yan's neck, and Xiao Yan dared not shout anymore. He knows his brother well, and he knows that his brother should strive for some benefits for himself next. Since the old gentleman has chosen to appear now, he probably won't absorb my brother's fighting spirit anymore, will he? Xiao Tian squinted his eyes slightly. Although he looked gentle and refined, Yao Lao recognized the meaning behind Xiao Tian's words. What if I say I want to continue absorbing it? Yao Lao hesitated for a moment, became playful, and directly spoke up. Upon hearing this, Xiao Tian's fighting spirit gradually solidified. Why don't you come and suck on me, old man? Anyway, I have a lot of fighting spirit and I'm not afraid of you sucking. Xiao Tian spoke up and then made a gesture with his palm behind his back, indicating that Xiao Yan would run when the situation was not good. Seeing this, Xiao Yan's eyes turned red again. He looked at Yao Lao fiercely, wishing to swallow and peel him alive. Ha ha ha. Just kidding, you really don't know how to be funny, little one. From now on, I won't absorb that little doll's fighting spirit anymore. Not only will I not absorb his fighting spirit, but I will also give him a great opportunity. Yao Lao laughed heartily as he looked at Xiao Tian's appearance, his heart was touched. He was also envious of such a brotherly relationship. De Zhaohua. Old man, don't talk big, be careful if the wind blows and your tongue flickers. Xiao Yan spoke on the side and said, now he just dares to say hello and make him really fall in love. He really dares not. And he could see that this old man didn't seem so scary. Don't be impolite. This old gentleman must have had exceptional strength and high moral standards before his death. How could he possibly talk happily? Xiao Tian spoke with a cold face and scolded Xiao Yan, causing him to shut up in a casual manner. Don't give me a high hat, you little one. I won't eat this kind of thing, but I do have a great fortune to give to this little doll. Yao Lao spoke up, realizing that the main purpose of Xiao Tian's words was nothing more than to fight for the so-called great fortune for Xiao Yan. The more Xiao Tian did this, the more uncomfortable Yao Lao's heart became. He came from the medicine family, but he rarely experienced family affection. Even his parents passed away when he was young. Little doll, do you want a strong one? Yao Lao spoke up, looking at Xiao Yan with a faint charm in his voice. I have now regained my talent, and becoming a strong person is also an inevitable thing. Why do you need your so-called great creation? Xiao Yan's mouth hardened, but in fact, he really wanted to agree, but he still chose to be reserved. After all, he also wants face. At this moment, Xiao Tian did not stop Xiao Yan, but silently received the huge amount of qi value. Hehe, do you really think that talent can solve everything? It took you 6 years to acquire the 9-stage Do Qi, and this speed is not a big deal when looking at the entire Do Qi continent. Moreover, the real strong ones are not the so-called Do emperors and Do kings in your eyes. You should know your brother's talent. His talent can be considered one of the top in the mainland, even those from ancient races are slightly inferior. Do you think you can match your brother? Yao Lao spoke up and immediately uncovered Xiao Yan's scar, making Xiao Yan's face look a bit ugly. Then he vomited a mouthful of turbid air. He knew that Yao Lao was telling the truth. Although he thought he had good talent, he still worked harder. In the past, his name as the twin star of the Xiao family still had a lot of momentum. At least, it took Xiao Tian less than 2 years to go from practicing qi to becoming a fighter. If it weren't for practicing qi at the age of 4, this twin star of the Xiao family might have disappeared. Begging for everything. Begging for everything. Begging for everything. Say important things 3 times. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. The Realistic Xiao Yan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 The Realistic Xiao Yan. I can clearly tell you that if you practice step by step, you will never want to see your brothers back in your lifetime. Yao Lao spoke in a voice that was neither loud nor small, but particularly penetrating. Xiao Yan clenched his fists tightly. Since practicing fighting spirit, he has always targeted Xiao Tian and wants to fight alongside him, even surpassing him. Over the years, only his older brother Xiao Tian, father Xiao Zhan, and the little girl Sun Er have been loyal to him, so he wants to repay them. However, it is obvious that with his talent, he wants to repay Xiao Tian. Undoubtedly, it is a pipe dream. The old man's soul power is so powerful, and he seems to have a strange aura of fire on his body. I think he must be an alchemist. Xiao Tian revealed his own speculation, while also interrupting Xiao Yan's wild thoughts. After hearing Xiao Tian's words, Xiao Yan looked at Yao Lao and his eyes became bright. Although they were still slightly red, he could clearly feel that Xiao Yan's eyes were different. That's right, I'm just an alchemist, and your younger brother has the talent to become an alchemist. Although his talent is average, it's barely enough. In order to repay the 3 years of fighting spirit, I can also reluctantly accept him as a disciple. Yao Lao too is desperate. If it were only Xiao Yan, he could still pack it, but today there is still Xiao Tian, and he has a bold idea in his heart. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yan's eyes lit up directly. Alchemists are extremely rare on the entire continent, although not rare, they are still very rare. After all, the conditions to become an alchemist are too difficult to achieve. I heard that alchemists have a clear level system, from low to high, and the atmosphere ranges from level 1 to level 9. I wonder what level of alchemist is Mr. Lao. At this moment, Xiao Yan no longer called himself an old man, his tone softened a lot, and his face became more beautiful. The real appearance made Xiao Tian slightly glance, and even the old medicine man pursed his lips. How many grades? I don't remember. Little doll, do you learn? Yao Lao spoke impatiently, shaking his head with a feeling of being a mischievous old child. I pay my respects to the teacher, disciple. Xiao Yan knelt down on the ground in a very realistic manner, 3 times making a sound at Yao Lao. Seeing Xiao Yan's realistic appearance, there was a hint of hesitation and struggle in Yao Lao's eyes, and then he felt relieved. What could have happened to be worse? It's just another loss, another mistake. I'm an old medicine expert, so I won't tell you about my background for now, so as not to distract you. Yao Lao spoke up, and he turned his head to look at Xiao Tian again. In fact, he was more optimistic about Xiao Tian's talent. Unfortunately, although Xiao Tian had a strong soul, he lacked the necessary wooden attribute for an alchemist. However, Yao Lao will not let go of such a terrifying demon with talent. Although he excels in refining medicine, it does not mean that his combat power is not strong. Kid, your talent is terrifying, and your physique is also special. Do you have a famous teacher to teach you? Yao Lao looked at Xiao Tian and asked, his meaning was very obvious. Xiao Yan also saw it, so Xiao Yan looked at Xiao Tian with excitement on his face. He had already fantasized about the scene of wandering the continent of Duki with his brother. Upon hearing this, Xiao Tian was slightly taken aback, fell silent for a moment, and then turned to Xiao Yan. Senior Medicine Master has extraordinary strength and is also a master of medicine refining. However, people's energy is always limited, and I will return to Canaan Academy in a few days. Xiao Tian didn't finish speaking, but his meaning was very clear. Upon hearing this, there was a hint of disappointment in Yao Lao's eyes, but he quickly recovered. He knew that Xiao Tian was afraid that he would be biased towards him and neglect Xiao Yan. Brother, Xiao Yan also understood Xiao Tian's meaning, so his eyes showed a touch. Then I won't force you anymore. If you have any questions about your cultivation in the future, you can come and ask me. Yao Lao spoke up, but before he could finish speaking, he was directly interrupted by Xiao Yan. Teacher, you are a master of medicine refining. You don't have any powerful combat skills in your hands. And I think my brother can definitely worship you as his teacher. After all, you know my brother's talent, not only unparalleled, but also one of the best on the entire continent. Xiao Yan began to constantly promote his brother, even using very authentic honorifics. Upon hearing this, Yao Lao's eyes gradually lit up, but he didn't make a sound and just looked at Xiao Tian. That's good too. Xiao Tian has a very captivating appearance, with such a master-disciple bond, it is even more convenient to obtain chi points. Upon seeing Xiao Tian agree, Yao Lao was very happy. In the past 3 years, he had already seen Xiao Tian's character clearly. Although he was still gambling, the chances of winning in this gambling game were much greater. In the eyes of Yao Lao, it was almost certain that Xiao Tian would become the Dousheng, and there was even a possibility of stepping into that legendary realm. I pay my respects to the teacher, disciple. Xiao Tian finished his apprenticeship ceremony and then respectfully spoke up. Okay. 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 Ha ha ha. Seeing this, the old medicine man let out a heroic laugh, constantly stroking his beard. Hee hee. Teacher, since we are all your disciples, why don't you bring me and my brother some heavenly level martial arts and heavenly level fighting techniques to practice? Xiao Yan extended his hand and smiled as he begged for heavenly-level fighting skills and heavenly-level kung fu. That shameless appearance made Yao Lao's face tremble. This kid's shameless appearance is quite reminiscent of his former demeanor, damn it. Your level of cultivation that day is like a cabbage on the ground. Thank you for opening your mouth. Yao Lao couldn't help but cry and laugh, blowing his beard and glaring at Xiao Yan. Heavenly-level martial arts are basically something that can be encountered but not sought after. A Dousheng can create heavenly-level martial arts, but deliberately spending time and energy to create them is a waste of time. Therefore, nowadays, in addition to ancient races and powerful forces with strong inheritance, in order to obtain heavenly-level martial arts, one can only go to some secret realms or the graves of the strong. His burning decision was obtained in an ancient secret realm. Old man, since we have joined your sect, you can't let me and my brother find our own martial arts and combat skills, can you? Is the threshold for becoming someone else's teacher so low now? Realistic to the extreme, Xiao Yan immediately began to have a strange aura, not even using his honorific title. This realistic appearance made Yao Lao blow his beard and stare. He felt that he had just taken Xiao Yan as his disciple, which was a mistake. In such a short while, the little doll climbed up his head. Humph. Since you have joined my sect, I naturally won't let you find your own martial arts and fighting skills. I don't have the heavenly-level martial arts, but I have enough control over the earthly-level martial arts and fighting skills. Yao Lao snorted lightly and then spoke up, saying that he did not lack the earth-level martial arts and combat skills. After all, he was at least the medicine lord. Star Meteor Pavilion Master. The first alchemist above the surface of the mainland. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yan showed a slightly lewd smile. Xiao Tian also showed a faint expression of excitement, which made Yao Lao sigh. Although Xiao Tian had exceptional talent, he was only a 16-year-old young man. Still a young man who has never been to Zhongzhou and has seen the world before, begging for everything. Begging for everything. Begging for everything. Say important things 3 times. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Unkind Guests. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Unkind Guests, 3rd Young Master. 4th Young Master. The clan leader, please go to the hall. A sound came from the back mountain, causing Xiao Tian and Xiao Yan, who were practicing, to open their eyes. Got it. Mobutler. Xiao Tian spoke loudly, then stood up and looked at Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan also stood up, and his excited expression made Xiao Tian smile. Xiao Yan, who had regained his talent and was able to cultivate fighting spirit, also underwent some changes and became more confident. Xiao Tian and Xiao Yan ran straight down the mountain, passed through the backyard, and finally stopped outside the solemn welcome hall. Xiao Tian knocked on the door and then pushed it in directly. The hall was spacious and crowded, with Xiao Zhan and 2 elders sitting at the top. When the 2 elders saw Xiao Tian, their faces lit up with smiles, like blooming chrysanthemums. The 3 of them have strong elders under their command, accompanied by a group of young people who have performed well in the family. On the other side sat 3 strangers, among whom was an old man wearing a moon-white robe. The old man had a smile on his face and was full of energy. His slightly small eyes flickered with light, and there was a silver light moon painted on his chest, surrounded by 7 sparkling stars. Next to the old man sat a young man and woman, both wearing the same moon-white robes. The man looked around 20, handsome, upright, and charming, with 5 golden stars painted on his chest. The woman is about the same age as Xiao Yan, with a beautiful appearance that is even more beautiful than Xiao Mei. In the entire Xiao family, perhaps only the Qinglian-like Sunner can be compared to her. The girl's earlobes are adorned with a blue jade pendant, swaying slightly to make a crisp sound, highlighting a touch of delicacy. Of course, the 3 golden stars on the girl's chest were the ones that caught Xiao Yan's attention the most. Father, 2 elders. Xiao Tian took Xiao Yan and bowed slightly to Xiao Zhan and others. At this moment, the three strangers also saw Xiao Tian and Xiao Yan, and a brilliant light burst from the slender eyes of the seven-star master. He didn't see through Xiao Tian's cultivation. Ha ha, my goodness, Yan here you are. Sit down quickly. Watching the arrival of Xiao Tian and Xiao Yan, Xiao Zhan showed a proud smile while also stopping his laughter with the guests. He nodded at the two and then waved his hand to speak. Two discerning servants immediately set up two chairs, and Xiao Tian and Xiao Tian sat down directly. No one dared to make Xiao Tian and Xiao Yan uncomfortable. Of course, if Xiao Tian was not here, it would be a different story. Xiao Tian knew what was going on, and also knew that it was a turning point in Xiao Yan's life. However, yesterday he had Yao Lao come out early, which could be considered a slight change in the plot. Xiao Yanzi, guess who that girl is? Xiao Tian opened his mouth with a relaxed smile, his voice not loud enough to be heard by Xiao Yan. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yan was slightly taken aback. Then, as if seeking help, he looked at Sun Er beside him. After all, Sun Er came earlier than him and should have known who the girl was. But when Xiao Yan was a little surprised, Sun Er turned his head in anger and didn't go to see his brother Xiao Yan. Don't look, it's understandable that Sun Er is angry. That girl's name is Nalan Yanran. Xiao Tian spoke up and reminded him, then picked up the tea on the side and started sipping it on his own. After hearing Xiao Tian's words, Xiao Yan was slightly taken aback, and then his face stiffened slightly. Nalan Yanran. The granddaughter of Gama Empire Lion Heart Marshal Nalan Jia. Xiao Yan didn't mention anything about his fiancée Ae, and he was also afraid of making Sun Er even more unhappy. Don't be too happy too early, I see these people are not kind. As soon as Xiao Tian opened his mouth, he tricked Xiao Yan, making him feel a cold sweat emerging from behind, and the aura of Sun Er around him became even colder. Xiao Yan looked at Xiao Tian with a pleading expression. He knew that his brother rarely tricked him, and this time he should have done it unintentionally, but it was this unintentional behavior that made him unable to laugh or cry. At this moment, the voice of Yao Lao also rang in the hearts of Xiao Yan and Xiao Tian. He. Xiao Yanzi, your good fortune is not insignificant, but because of this good fortune, you need to work even harder. If you are weak, you cannot protect your little girls. Yao Lao is very dishonest. He is no longer an old rascal. If he were to be more explicit, he would be an old rascal. After hearing Yao Lao's words, Xiao Yan's face stiffened slightly and he ignored his cheap teacher. At a young age, I have already become a 3-star fighter, and my talent should not be underestimated. Yao Lao spoke again, he was stimulating Xiao Yan, also to make him work harder. Of course, Xiao Yan himself was already working hard enough, but Yao Lao still wanted to make Xiao Yan work harder. After all, in a sense, Xiao Yan is his biological disciple and the protagonist he wants to gamble on again. Cut it. At her age, my brother was already a master of martial arts, even a spirit fighter. Xiao Yan silently said in his heart, feeling a wave of dissatisfaction with Yao Lao's behavior of praising others. Upon hearing Xiao Yan's words, Yao Lao pouted and even rolled his eyes. How many people on the whole continent can be compared to your brother? Yao Lao's words pushed back everything Xiao Yan wanted to say and successfully silenced him. But Xiao Tian just listened without saying too much, and at the same time, he also observed Nalan Yanran and his group. Nalan Yanran was also observing Xiao Tian and Xiao Yan at this moment. She felt a terrible sense of crisis from Xiao Tian, as if facing other powerful elders in the sect. Seeing that Xiao Tian is not a few years older than himself, yet he gives himself a feeling like this. Nalan Yanran thought of the news she had heard when she came. Although one of the twin stars of the Xiao family had fallen, the other was still strong. At a young age, she entered the Canaan Academy and was given priority training. Thinking of this handsome young man is already Xiao Tian. Nalan Yanran has no waves in her heart. She is proud, even immensely proud. She has a Dousheng teacher, who is also the leader of Yunlan sect, and she is also the future young leader of Yunlan sect. Her future is boundless, and her confidence is not inferior to anyone else. The purpose of coming here is also very simple, to get rid of those so-called destinies. She is an extremely strong person and does not want to marry someone she has never met before. This idea is right, but her method is wrong. She wanted to bring the power of Yunlan sect to exert pressure on the Xiao family, and even this time she secretly ran out, hiding from her father and grandfather. However, she obtained the approval of her teacher Yunlan. Yunyan's approval greatly boosted Nalan Yanran's confidence. After all, her grandfather was just a Dou king, and her teacher Yunyan was the top Dou king in the entire Gama Empire. In fact, Yunyan is also kind-hearted. She believes that engagement itself is a constraint, and as long as she plans it, it will be easily resolved. But Yunyan didn't expect that Nalan Yanran would directly bring an elder from the outer sect, Guyi, and Lu Ling, to the Xiao family and directly withdraw their marriage, begging for everything. Begging for everything. Begging for everything. Say important things 3 times. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Divorce. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Divorce. Chief Xiao, the reason why you came to the nobles this time is mainly to ask for something. Guyi coughed lightly twice, then stood up and arched his hand at Xiao Zhan, speaking calmly. Ha ha ha. If Mr. Guyi has something to say, he will do it within his power. The Xiao family will not refuse. Xiao Zhan is well versed in the art of speaking. He didn't say too much, but he didn't feel awkward either. He, Chief Xiao, do you know her? Guyi smiled and pointed to the girl beside him, asking with a smile. At this moment, Xiao Zhan had a hint of bad premonition in his heart, but he did not know this girl. Sorry for Xiao Zhan's clumsy eyes, this young lady is. Xiao Zhan looked at Nalan Yanran and shook his head slightly awkwardly. Her name is Nalan Yanran. Guyi spoke with a slightly nervous voice. This nervousness was clearly not aimed at Xiao Zhan, but at Xiao Tian, who had just lost his cultivation. Upon hearing this, Xiao Zhan was very happy and his face was full of joy. He thought that Nalan Yanran was here to fulfill his engagement, and quickly showed a gentle smile to Nalan Yanran, saying what an elder should say. Nalan Yanran felt a bit embarrassed by Xiao Zhan's enthusiasm, and she responded politely, imitating Xiao Zhan's appearance. But at this moment, Nalan Yanran saw that Xiao Zhan had no intention of stopping, so she directly tugged at Guyi's sleeve beside her, indicating that Guyi began to take action. Chief Xiao, what I am asking for today is related to Yanran, and at this time, it was the leader himself who spoke up. Guyi smiled and said, but when he mentioned the sect leader, his expression was slightly solemn. At this moment, Xiao Zhan's face slightly changed. He was not a fool, and he also knew about his son's situation, so he had some speculations. The huge palm clenched its fist and trembled, although it was covered by a wide sleeve robe, it was still discovered by Guyi. Mr. Guyi, please speak. Xiao Chan's face stiffened as he spoke, and the 2 elders around him also had some speculations. They didn't mean to gloat, after all, this was a disgrace for the entire Xiao family. Xiao clan leader, as you know, the Yunlan sect has a strict family tradition. The sect leader has high expectations for Yanran, and even treats her as the next sect leader of the Yunlan sect for cultivation. Due to some special rules, the descendants of the sect leader cannot have any conflicts with men before becoming the official sect leader. After asking Yanran, the Lord found out that she had a marriage with the Xiao family, so the Lord wants to ask the Xiao clan leader to terminate this engagement. After Guyi finished speaking, his face was also a bit awkward. After all, this matter was indeed not good. As his words fell, everyone present felt a terrifying aura explode. Bang! Xiao Tian stood up, his chair torn apart, his fighting spirit surging, his clothes windless and his face gloomy like water. 2 real dragons entwined on his body, and his golden blood was boiling. The terrifying aura weighed down on some weak individuals who couldn't help but kneel on the ground. This is pure momentum, not related to fighting spirit cultivation. Of course, it has some relationship with soul power. Xiao Yan's face was very ugly. He clenched his fists tightly, his body trembled, his teeth clenched, and his nails pierced into his palms, causing a piercing pain. However, he himself was completely unaware of it. Sun Er looked at Nalan Yanran with a strong indifference and a hint of joy in her eyes. The teacup in Xiao Zhan's hand was crushed, and he felt Xiao Tian's outburst. He felt the shame he had suffered today. Oh my goodness. Xiao Zhan took a deep breath and then spoke in a low voice. He is the leader of the Xiao family. Although the Xiao family now has a 9-star spirit fighting Xiao Tian, the growth of genius also takes time. He needs to remain calm and not impulsive. As Xiao Zhan's voice fell, Xiao Tian's body stiffened slightly. Then, he withdrew his fighting spirit and momentum, but he still stood there, coldly looking at Guyi and others. Guyi felt Xiao Tian's aura and also knew about his cultivation. Dousheng. Dousheng at this age. Nalan Yanran's pretty face turned pale. She thought she was a genius, but in front of Xiao Tian, was she a genius? Funny. Lu Ling's legs were trembling. He was just an alchemist, and his combat power was far inferior to that of a normal fighter. Moreover, he had never really fought, and even the sword in his hand was worn because it looked good. Nalan's niece, what courage. Nalan Su has a daughter like you, it's really enviable. Xiao Zhan spoke hoarsely, God knows what kind of struggle he had just made in his heart. Upon hearing this, Nalan Yanran's delicate body trembled. Uncle Xiao. Nalan Yanran shouted out, but before she could speak, she was directly interrupted by Xiao Hua. Dare not. Just call me Xiao clan leader. Uncle, I can't afford to become him. You are the future leader of the Yunlan sect and will also be a prominent figure in the Duki continent in the future. My Yener is just an ordinary person with mediocre qualifications, and he really doesn't deserve you. Xiao Zhan gritted his teeth and spat out such a sentence from his mouth. He knew he couldn't act impulsively now. It was very easy to keep Guyi and others, but the consequences of keeping Guyi were too much for the Xiao family to bear. At this moment, Guye's mind was racing, and he decided to make up for it, otherwise he would really die here later. This should be young Master Xiao Tian, indeed a young hero. Xiao clan leader has such a talented descendant. Guyi spoke beautiful words, but before he could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Xiao Tian. Shut up. Old dog. Xiao Tian's voice was chilly, like an angry roar emanating from the depths of Joyo. His gaze also fell on Guyi, who froze instantly. At this moment, Guyi couldn't even speak and could only make meaningless sounds from her throat. Oh my goodness. No disrespect. Xiao Zhan also wanted to take action directly, but he knew he had to endure it. Brother. Stop it. Xiao Yan also spoke up and stood up, placing his hand on Xiao Tian's shoulder. At this moment, Xiao Yan was calm and terrifying, and his eyes were also calm and frightening. Ha! Miss Nalan, may I ask if Mr. Nalan has agreed to the matter of repentance today? There are many layers of meaning behind Xiao Yan's words, and the most important thing is to know the attitude of the Nalan family. If this is also what the Nalan family means, then he doesn't have to worry about the friendship between his grandfather and the Nalan family back then. Upon hearing this, Nalan Yanran frowned slightly, thinking that it was Xiao Yan who was persistently pestering her. Grandpa never agreed, but this is my business and has nothing to do with him. Nalan Yanran spoke up, although she was somewhat afraid of Xiao Tian and even more shocked by his talent, she still spoke up. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yan's gaze gradually became sharp. I really want to kill you. A tender murderous aura could erupt from Xiao Yan's body. Although this murderous aura was tender, it still made Nalan Yanran's pretty face pale and she couldn't help but lean back. Yan air. Don't be impolite. Although Xiao Zhan was angry, he was also taken aback by Xiao Yan's actions and quickly shouted, after all, the Xiao family cannot offend Yunlan sect now. Perhaps in 10 years, the Xiao family can crush Yunlan sect, but not now. Xiao Yan clenched his fists tightly, lowered his head and took a deep breath. After a moment, he lifted himself up again, and the ferocious terror in his eyes had disappeared, leaving only the calm he had before. The same goes for discrimination and ridicule in the past 3 years, and Xiao Yan is no longer the little guy without a city government who wants to show off his achievements. Nalan Yanran in front of her is a disciple of the Yunlan sect leader. If she really does something to her now, it may bring countless troubles to the Xiao family. He knew that Xiao Tian would spare no effort to support himself, but he also knew that Xiao Tian needed time to grow now, so he could only endure it. However, he doesn't intend to just forget about it. Begging for everything. Begging for everything. Begging for everything. Tell me about it 3 times. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Zhao's response. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Zhao's response. Looking at Xiao Yan, Nalan Yanran felt a chill in her heart. After all, she had just felt Xiao Tian's strength, and wanting to keep them was just a face-to-face matter. At this moment, Puyi was panting heavily, his eyes staring at Xiao Tian in terror, and he no longer had the fairy-like demeanor he had when he came. Xiao Yan, although I don't know why I made you feel so angry, let's terminate our engagement. Nalan Yanran took a deep breath, calmed her mood, and spoke very strongly. Although she was somewhat afraid of Xiao Tian, she also had her own pride in her heart. Please remember that this time I came to the Xiao family, it was my teacher and the leader of Yunlan sect personally agreed. You can consider this as a slope, but you should also be aware that reality is like this, and nothing is absolutely fair. Although you don't want to express anything, you should also be aware of the gap between us. We are impossible. Nalan Yanran spoke again, saying that she had moved out her teacher just to avoid using the mouse, afraid that Xiao Tian would suddenly become violent. Xiao Tian squinted his eyes. He felt like he should say something, otherwise how could he take advantage of his luck? Miss Nalan, do you know how embarrassing it would be for a woman to regret her marriage on the continent of Duki? My younger brother would never suffer such shame. Xiao Tian said coldly as he slowly walked towards Nalan Yanran. Watching Xiao Tian walk towards her, Nalan Yanran's whole body trembled with fear, and she didn't even hear what Xiao Tian had just said. Brother. Xiao Yan suddenly spoke up and stopped Xiao Tian. Xiao Tian turned his head to look at Xiao Yan, who gave him a firm gaze. Nalan Yanran. You don't need to make such a strong gesture. If you want to withdraw, you just think that I, Xiao Yan, am a waste and not worthy of your delicate daughter. To put it harshly, besides your beauty, I don't even appreciate anything else about you. Yunlan sect is indeed very strong, but I am still young. My brother Xiao Tian, who just turned 16 2 days ago, was a 9-star spirit fighter. When I was 12, I became a fighter for 100 years. And you? Nalan Yanran. How much fighting energy did you have when you were 12? After you turn 16, what cultivation will you have? Miss Nalan. For the sake of Nalan's face, Xiao Yan advises you, 30 years east of the river. 30 years west of the river. Don't deceive young people into poverty. Xiao Yan's ferocious and cold words made Nalan Yanran's delicate body tremble. Upon hearing this, Xiao Zhan slammed his palms heavily on the table, causing tea to splash and scatter. He wanted to say that he truly was my son, but before he could speak, he was interrupted by Nalan Yanran. How can you teach me a lesson? Even if your previous talent is unmatched, you are a waste now. Okay. I'll give you a chance to Nalan Yanran. I won't mention the termination of the engagement today. I will give you 3 years. 3 years later, I will wait for you in the Cloud Lawn Sect. As long as you can defeat me in 3 years, I will be a slave and servant in my life, and you will the final say everything. Of course, if you are still such a useless person in 3 years, then you must also give me the contract to terminate the marriage contract obediently. Nalan Yanran's voice was a bit sharp, but the key was that she was also scared. Xiao Tian's aura was too terrifying, and Nalan Yanran was spoiled all year round. She had been scolded by her peers like this, and her mind was dizzy with anger. After 3 years, I really can't show any interest in you. Xiao Yan spoke coldly and then walked to the table to start writing vigorously. Mo Luo. Pen stop. Sword out. The sharp sword blade made a blood cut on the palm of the left hand, and blood gushed out like a spring. The hand stained with blood left a piercing red handprint on the white paper. Picking up this contract, Xiao Yan sneered and slapped it in front of Nalan Yanran. Don't think how much Xiao Yan cares about you, such a damn genius wife. This contract is not a contract to terminate the marriage contract, but a divorce letter from my young master to expel you from the Xiao family. From now on, you. Nalan Yanran has no further connection with my Xiao family. Xiao Yan roared angrily, while his heart was also filled with joy. At this moment, Nalan Yanran was also confused by Xiao Yan's action. Her beautiful big eyes widened, and her appearance seemed very unbelievable. She couldn't believe that with her beauty, talent, and background, she would be directly dismissed by a useless member of a small family. This feeling is somewhat unreal. Then Xiao Yan knelt down toward Xiao Zhan and kowtowed heavily. Looking at Xiao Yan's appearance, Xiao Zhan slowly released his tightly clenched fists. I believe my son will not be a lifelong waste. Just rumors and gossip will naturally break through in front of him in the future. Xiao Zhan smiled and spoke, feeling relieved. He believed in his son, very much. Father, 3 years later, Yan heir will return to Yunlan sect and personally play this shame for you and the Xiao family. Xiao Yan spoke with a trembling voice, but particularly firm. After finishing speaking, Xiao Yan stood up, turned around, and left the hall directly. Xiao Tian glanced at Nalan Yanran and then left the hall directly. As he passed by Nalan Yanran's side, he spoke softly. The Duki continent is very large. Although Yunlan sect is strong within the Gama Empire, placing it above the entire Duki continent is just that. I hope you won't regret your decision today. Xiao Tian said coldly, without stopping, and walked straight out of the hall. Suner also followed closely behind. She just silently glanced at Nalan Yanran, with golden flames dancing in her eyes. At this moment, Nalan Yanran felt as if the contract in her hand weighed 1,000 pounds, but this feeling was fleeting, followed closely by a sense of shame. Now Nalan Yanran could understand the feeling in Xiao Yan's heart. As Xiao Tian left the hall, Guye's frightened expression still lingered. His 2 dry palms grabbed Nalan Yanran and Lu Ling, and they ran out of the hall like they were running for their lives. Looking at Guye's actions, most of the people in the hall had a heavy expression on their faces. After all, these 3 people came to humiliate the Xiao family. Although they only humiliated Xiao Yan, when others mention this matter, they will think of the Xiao family first. Xiao Yan. Clan leader, today's matter is likely to spread to Yunlan sect in a few days. Even if our Xiao family has a genius like Xiao Tian, it will be exposed. At that time, Yunlan sect will be exposed. The elder expressed his concerns, and his originally cloudy eyes became clear. Upon hearing this, Xiao Zhan frowned slightly. How could he not understand the meaning of the elder? Send the order and spread today's matter throughout the entire Gama Empire. I want the entire Gama Empire to know about the conflict between Yunlan sect and the Xiao family. Also, Let Tiana return to Canaan College as soon as possible and assign several groups of members of the Xiao family to go to other cities. Xiao Zhan spoke up, and his first order was to make the entire Gama Empire aware of the conflict between Yunlan and the Xiao family, and to use his reputation to force Yunlan not to take action against the Xiao family. The second command is to leave capital for the rise of the Xiao family, and the third command is to leave some seeds for the Xiao family, begging for everything. Begging for everything. Begging for everything. Say important things 3 times. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. The reaction between the Gama royal family and the Nalan family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. The reaction between the Gama royal family and the Nalan family. Gama Empire. Gama Holy City. Palace. Do Huang, the pinnacle of power and guardian of the Gama Empire, sat on his throne as Jia Xingtian looked at the intelligence presented by his subordinates, his sharp eyes gradually becoming more playful. Now the entire Gama Empire knows about the conflict between Yunlan's sect and the Xiao family, and even more about Nalan Yanran's divorce. Of course, the most important concern for Jia Xingtian is still Xiao Tian. 16-year-old 9-star spirit fighting. What was his cultivation level when he was 16 years old? How many stars are there? The Punishment Day felt the feeling of talented people from different generations emerging, each leading the way for hundreds of years. The head of the Xiao family also has courage. In order to survive, he didn't even want his own reputation. Jia Xingtian muttered to himself, truly admiring the Xiao family leader who made this decision. This is Yang Mao, the obvious Yang Mao. Unless Yunlan is willing to bear the curse of wielding power and bullying the weak, he will definitely not be able to take action against the Xiao family, and even Yunlan will protect the Xiao family until the 3-year agreement is completed. In 3 years, he believed that Xiao Tian's breakthrough in the Do King was also a simple matter. By then, the Xiao family would have a Do King powerhouse, even a high-level Do King, a peak Do King. At that time, the Xiao family also had some confidence in speaking. Yao Yi, what do you think? Sentiment Day looked at his granddaughter, who was also the younger generation he had high hopes for. Upon hearing his great-grandfather ask him this, Yao Yi was also slightly taken aback. Grandfather, Xiao Tian's talent is too strong. Even if he starts practicing Qi at the age of 4, he can become a 9-star spirit fighter in 12 years. Sigh, Yao Yi took a deep breath, Xiao Tian's talent was so terrifying. Upon hearing this, Xingtian smiled slightly. He had to win over Xiao Tian, at least to make him have a favorable impression of the Gama royal family. And the way the royal family attracts people is often very simple and rough. What do you think of Xiao Tian? The Punishment Day asked, and he just asked. If Yao Yi had this intention, he wouldn't refuse. After hearing the hints from her great-grandfather, Yao Yi was slightly taken aback. Heroes love beauties, and beauties also love heroes. Yao Yi himself is a person who admires the strong. He is an excellent person, but he will definitely not stay in a small place like the Gama Empire in the future. Perhaps only that place is his stage. Yao Yi spoke calmly. She was indeed very satisfied with Xiao Tian's talent, but she was also very rational and understood that Xiao Tian would never spend his life in such a small Gama Empire. And she wants to dedicate her life to the Gama Empire, so their paths are different. Even if we forcefully come together, it will only describe the end, even if it's a different dream from the same bed. You can be his backing, after all, the Xiao family is his root, and he cannot abandon the Xiao family. We are now taking action to protect the Xiao family, which can be considered an investment. With his talent, he should not be interested in our Gama Empire in the future. Sentenced Tian spoke up, feeling that his plan was feasible. Upon hearing this, Yao Yi was also taken aback. She also felt that the plan was good. At the age of 16, Dousheng had achieved the Dozong or even the Dozuan. She didn't find it strange at all, and even the legendary Dousheng realm didn't feel very shocked. Although the Gama Empire may appear to have good strength, in the eyes of true powerhouses, that's just one thing. They may not necessarily like me either. Yao Yi was moved. Such a strong person would not covet the so-called wealth of the Gama Empire, and investing in a strong person must be done before they can grow into a strong person. Now Yao Yi feels a bit insecure. Although she is a noble princess, she realizes that she is not worthy of a genius like Xiao. Hey! You're wrong in thinking this way. A genius who hasn't become a strong person can't be called a strong person. We protect him when he was weak, and when he becomes strong, let him protect us. This is a fair deal. And you have to believe in your own charm. A 16-year-old boy is at the age when love is just beginning to bloom. You just need to give it a little play, he's not at your mercy. Sentenced Tian was very confident and spoke directly. Upon hearing this, Yao Yi fell silent. A young genius from a small place has only seen a limited amount of the world. Taking advantage of this time period to enter the life of this future powerhouse is undoubtedly the most likely to succeed. Alright, you can personally go to the Xiao family in Wutan City. Remember. Bring some precious gifts and show the sincerity of my Gama royal family. The punishment day spoke up and then waved his hand. Upon seeing this, Yao Yi immediately bent down, bowed, turned around, and left with a farewell gesture. She wanted to execute the order of adding punishment to the sky. Her purpose is very clear, it is for the Xiao family in Wutan City, Xiao. At the same time, at Nalan's house. Bang! The sound of various teacups and porcelain being smashed was incessant, and Nalan Jia was like an angry lion in his room, throwing a tantrum. Bastard! 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 Nalan Jia cursed loudly, not knowing who he was cursing, but Nalan Su beside him knew who his father was cursing. Now the entire Gama Empire has become aware of the Nalan family's love for wealth and poverty, and the reputation that Nalan Jia has accumulated for most of his life has been lost in one fell swoop. Father, don't be angry anymore. What we need to do now is find a way to remedy everything. Nalan Su spoke up, saying that he was already much calmer, but he wasn't particularly calm either. After all, besides the news of Nalan Yanran's divorce from Xiao Yan, there was also a 16-year-old 9-star fighting spirit in the Xiao family 16-year-old 9-star spirit fighting. What does this represent? Everyone knows. This is a genius, a future powerhouse, and even a genius with the potential to step into that legendary realm. Divorcing may make Nalan Jia angry, but he definitely wouldn't throw a tantrum like this. The real reason why Nalan Jia is so angry is because of Xiao Tian, the 16-year-old 9-star fighting spirit. Such a genius, now the Nalan family has offended Xiao Tian to death. Yes. You go. No. I'll go myself. Nalan Jia also regained some rationality. He wanted to send his son Nalan Su, but after thinking about it, he still chose to go by himself. Upon hearing this, Nalan Su nodded and then sighed. Yanran, this child, has become increasingly unruly since she became a disciple of Yunlan. Nalan Su spoke, with a strong weariness in his voice. Upon hearing this, Nalan Jia became even more angry, but after holding it for so long, he could only let out a long sigh. After all, it was his granddaughter who did the wrong thing. As a grandfather, he must go to apologize and take care of the aftermath. In fact, if the Xiao family did not have Xiao Tian, Nalan Jia might be very angry, but he would not personally go to the Xiao family to apologize, and he would not even send someone over. After all, this is reality. Cruel reality. Begging for everything. Begging for everything. Begging for everything. Say important things 3 times. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. The response of Yunlan's sect and the Mitel family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. The response of Yunlan's sect and the Mitel family. Yunlan sect. I didn't expect the Xiao family to have such a genius. Yunlan, the elder of Yunlan's sect, murmured to himself, with a faint light shining in his old eyes. It is obvious that the elder of Yunlan's sect is thinking of some shady methods. Yun saw Yunling's thoughts and her beautiful eyebrows furrowed slightly. Elder, you are not allowed to interfere in this matter. I will handle it with the Xiao family. This time, Yanran's actions were quite reckless. Yun spoke up, but before she could finish speaking, she was interrupted by Nalan Yanran. Why bother going to the Xiao family in person, teacher? 3 years later, I will fight with that Xiao Yan, and this matter will naturally come to an end. Nalan Yanran was very angry. After all, she had been spoiled since childhood, and few people scolded him. In the Xiao family, she felt like she had been greatly insulted. Moreover, no matter how mature she is only a 14-year-old child, so she naturally cannot think things comprehensively. In Nalan Yanran's heart, she had never considered the face of the Xiao family, let alone her better choices and better solutions. This matter is not that simple, so Xiao Yan may not be a concern, but Xiao Tian is a genius. If this matter is handled well, maybe you can have another senior brother. Yun spoke with a faint sense of helplessness in her voice. She also doted on her disciple very much, which has led to him being somewhat lawless now. It seems that he needs to work harder in the future to become a successful disciple. Upon hearing this, Nalan Yanran's delicate body froze in place, and the tall and upright figure of Xiao Tian appeared in her mind. Of course, what impressed her the most was Xiao Tian's imposing demeanor, which made her feel a terrifying sensation like an avalanche. Master, if that's the case, this matter is feasible. Yunlan spoke directly, his voice not low, causing a flash of brilliance in Yunlan's eyes. A 16-year-old 9-star fighting spirit, if he joins the Yunlan sect, the entire Yunlan sect will take a whole new height, even leaving the small place of the Gama Empire and entering the legendary Zhongzhou. He will be an authentic Zhongzhou native by then. Yanran is going with me this time. Yanran, you must apologize well, and maybe we will meet your grandfather again at the Xiao family. Yun, Bingxue, is intelligent. She can imagine how a 16-year-old 9-star spirit would bring a great storm to the entire Gama Empire. In Yun's impression, not only the Nalan family, the Mu family, the Mitel family, the royal family, and even various families of all sizes will go to the Xiao family this time. Not for anything else, just for that 16-year-old 9-star fighting spirit. I understand. Although Nalan Yanran was very dissatisfied in her heart, she could only speak in this way. Although she was arrogant, she also knew where her teacher's bottom line was. Arrogance does not mean foolishness. At this point, Yunlang had already begun to fantasize about the life of Yunlanzong after entering Zhongzhou. He never thought that Xiao Tian would refuse Yunlanzong's solicitation. After all, in his understanding, no one could refuse Yunlanzong's solicitation. At this moment, Yun is thinking about how to properly solve this matter. Her heart is kind and she does not want any bloodshed, especially in the face of such a problem with the reputation of Yunlan sect. At the same time, in the city of Yutun, Yefei has arrived at the Xiao family and brought various materials that Xiao Tian wanted. First, order would attribute magic cores and other medicinal herbs for refining the foundation building spirit liquid. She looked at the handsome Xiao Tian and immediately showed a charming smile. Xiao Tian, don't be shy, sister doesn't know how to eat people. Yefei covered her mouth and smiled coquettishly, as she watched the big boy who caused the entire Gama Empire to tremble. The light in her eyes gradually grew stronger. Upon hearing this, Xiao Tian immediately looked at concubine. Although there was still a faint shyness in his eyes, what was different from before was that now Xiao Tian's eyes had a hint of anger and embarrassment. After seeing that light, concubine yet dared not go too far. If Xiao Nina did something later, she really couldn't stop it. Although she regarded Xiao Tian as her goal, she also deeply understood one thing. What she couldn't get would always stir up, and those who were favored would have no fear. She cannot be easily obtained by Xiao Tian, otherwise she will appear very cheap herself. Alright, stop teasing you, little brother. This is what you want. Ye Fei smiled and said, then took those things out of her ring and placed them in front of Xiao Tian. Seeing this, Xiao Tian's eyes gradually calmed down. This is a second-grade aphrodisiac, if it's not enough. Xiao Tian directly took out a bottle of elixir from his ring and placed it on the table. It was obvious that this bottle of elixir was a reward. But Princess Ye Fei didn't accept it, she just looked at Xiao Tian with determination. Xiao Tian, let's do a business. Ye Fei whispered softly, her voice neither big nor small, with an indescribable beauty, as if the demon of hell was whispering in your ear. This woman is just a living fairy, one could accidentally fall for her way. What kind of business? Xiao Tian frowned and asked, then glanced away, looking a bit shy. For Xiao Tian's appearance, concubine Ye Fei was very satisfied, even a little surprised. She thought that a genius like Xiao Tian should have experienced some male and female affairs to some extent, but she didn't expect it. Although Princess Ye Fei doesn't care about these things, this kind of thing is still an unexpected joy. Sister, I am very optimistic about your future. I will gather the strength of the entire Mitel family to help you, the Xiao family, and your younger brother. Ye Fei first mentioned the benefits. Although she is not yet the heir of the Mitel family, she knows that if she collaborates with Xiao Tianda, she will become the actual leader of the Mitel family. And she believes that those people in the clan have already seen Xiao Tian's potential and should be heading towards Wutan City now. What are the conditions? Xiao Tian did not send someone to reach this cooperation with concubine Ye. Although this cooperation had no effect on him, the chi points provided by concubine Ye alone were enough to make him envious. Seeing Xiao Tian's rational appearance, Princess Ye Fei's smile became even more charming. After you become a strong person, protect the Mitel family. Ye Fei spoke up and said, although this condition sounds very simple, it is also very simple to implement. It can almost be said to be a win-win situation. When Xiao Tian was weak, the Mitel family took action to protect him. After Xiao Tian became strong, they took action to protect the Mitel family. Is Sister Ye Fei so certain that I can become a strong person? Xiao Tian asked in a calm voice, unable to hear his true thoughts at this moment. Of course, I am very certain. Ye Fei looked straight at Xiao Tian's starry eyes, which she liked very much. They were firm, confident, and pure. She hasn't seen such eyes for a long time, such eyes. Can Sister Ye Fei represent the entire Mitel family? Xiao Tian turned his head away and didn't look into Lady Ye Fei's eyes, and a slight blush appeared on his face at the right time. Yes. Ye Fei spoke decisively, her voice still soft and charming, but with an added sense of determination. Begging for everything. Begging for everything. Begging for everything. Say important things 3 times. End of this chapter.